This is CBC Vancouver News.
British Columbians are really experiencing a physician shortage in all areas of healthcare.
BC's health minister has a new mandate, what the province plans to do to address the healthcare crisis while cutting costs. Also, nearly 20 people have been hospitalized due to a Salmonella outbreak linked to mini pastries sold in BC. And
you get hundreds of people together with a wide variety of skill sets, and they come up with crazy ideas.
Hundreds of young computer programmers bring their ideas to life at one of Western Canada's largest hackathons. Hello, thanks for joining us. I'm Janella Hamilton. Health professionals in BC are feeling encouraged after Premier David Eby released mandate letters for his new cabinet. Among some of the top priorities, reducing the cost of healthcare administration in the province. Michelle Morton reports.
Minister of Health.
Since taking on her new job as BC's health minister, Josie Osborne says she's already gotten to work.
I've been meeting since the first day of this role with healthcare workers and with health authorities and hearing about the challenges and opportunities that they face.
In the mandate letter addressed to the health minister by the Premier, Osborne is tasked with prioritizing dozens of issues. At the top of the list, reviewing all health programs and initiatives with cost-cutting in mind.
There's a lot of feedback out there, and there are a lot of good ideas out there, and that's the work that has to be done, examining those and understanding how things can be more streamlined, how they could be more efficient.
Some key priorities outlined in the mandate letter include recruiting and retaining healthcare workers, addressing emergency room closures, and connecting residents with primary care providers. Healthcare professionals are welcoming this review.
We also know that having access to primary care decreases emergency visits, decreases hospitalizations. It's very important that we get everybody access to a family doctor. There shouldn't be that discrepancy between those who have and those who have not.
The reference to strengthening minimum nurse-patient ratios, that's, I would say that would be our number one priority. Implementation is our priority.
British Columbians are really experiencing a physician shortage in all areas of healthcare, and we do need to expand our recruitment and retention strategy to make sure that the province has a clear choice for doctors to come to British Columbia and stay in British Columbia to work.
According to the Canadian Institute of Health Information, the province spent $1.8 billion on healthcare administration in 2022. That's around $100,000 less than Quebec, which has 3.5 million more people.
A massive growth that we're seeing in administration and bureaucracy, not just in healthcare, but across government over the last 7 years. And so it's good to hear the Premier recognizing that.
The BC Greens, who signed a cooperation agreement with the NDP after the election, had previously pushed for a review of healthcare authority expenditures, saying there are too many positions without clearly defined job descriptions.
Commitment to review health authorities. And so we will be doing that, and again, working with health authorities to look to those ways to cut administration and take those savings and invest them in frontline services for people.
Osborne says work on the review is just getting underway, and there's no word yet when it will be complete. Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
An update now to a recall issued by the Canadian Food Inspection Agency over a Salmonella outbreak linked to mini pastries. The Public Health Agency of Canada says 61 people across the country have become ill. 17 people have been hospitalized. 4 of the 61 cases linked to the recalled pastries are here in BC. The agency says the sweet cream brand mini pastries have been distributed at bakeries, hotels, restaurants, cafeterias, hospitals, retirement homes, and catered events. The recall covers sweet cream mini patisserie 4-kilogram boxes and 1-kilogram trays with best before dates from June 17th up to and including November 15th, 2025. Fisheries and Oceans Canada is monitoring the waters of the Indian Arm Fjord near North Vancouver's Deep Cove after oil was spilled when a boat caught fire Saturday around noon. After smoldering on the water for more than 3 hours, the boat eventually sank. The Canadian Coast Guard says the vessel was reported to have 1,200 liters of diesel on board before the fire happened, and after sinking, a small sheen was visible in the surrounding waters. A spokesperson for Fisheries and Oceans Canada says equipment is in place to address any pollution from the diesel. Everyone on board the boat was safely removed. BC's south coast will continue to see colder weather over the next few days.
Into early next week, we'll see daytime highs anywhere from about 2 to 5 degrees and overnight lows anywhere from about -1 to -4 degrees.
The City of Vancouver has extended its emergency weather response because of the drop in temperatures. Extra shelter spaces are available in the city through Monday night. The restaurant industry is calling on the federal government to make the holiday tax break permanent following an uptick in customers. Restaurants Canada and Open Table says that BC restaurants saw a 12% increase in sales during the first 2 weeks of the GST-HST holiday compared to the same time last year.
Certainly there are mixed results depending on the restaurant, but overall, we're very pleased that this temporary GST tax holiday has really given us a little bit of a boost in what has been an extremely challenging 2024, with record bankruptcies, closures, and half the industry being not profitable.
He says restaurants have been dealing with rising operating costs and lower consumer demand. The GST break ends February 15th, but Restaurants Canada would like to make the sales tax break on all prepared food permanent to help an industry that's been struggling to make money. Cities in Metro Vancouver are grappling with how best to respond to complaints between neighbours, specifically how properties are kept in good repair. As Chad Pawson reports, Burnaby recently made changes to its unsightly premises bylaws after a growing number of complaints.
It could be garbage or recycling lying about, overgrown gardens or yard waste. The way a neighbor keeps their property in order can be a delicate balance.
You can definitely do whatever you want with your property, but you also got to take in mind that you're part of a community.
I probably would go to the neighbor, I know my neighbors, so I go over and ask them if they need help.
As a homeowner, you should have the pride in your property, and then as a community, we should all try and improve the look of our community and our homes and our gardens.
In absence of that, though, are complaints. Burnaby gets more than one a day about unsightly properties, a big jump from just a few years ago.
People are becoming more vocal about their neighborhood and more prone to reach out to express their views.
The more complaints, the more work for the city to inspect and issue cleanup orders. As a result, Burnaby has tightened its bylaws to have greater clarity on conditions considered unsightly and allow staff to authorize direct action rather than through city council. They can hire workers to do the cleanup and then add the expense to yearly property tax bills. Officials say it's meant to expedite action.
Potentially, given what's going on with council and emerging events, it could actually be months before we could actually get an order in place.
It's not just Burnaby dealing with this issue. It's common across most of BC. Here in Richmond, the city has been dealing with a case for the past 15 years. This property has had several orders to clean up, but it's still not resolved, according to the city. Property owners have the right to appeal orders. Local politicians say it can result in a lengthy back and forth.
When they appeal the order and they clean up 2 garbage bins and then they could say they've made an improvement, that's not good enough. And then it's up to council to have the will and the drive to say, no, that's not good enough, it has to change.
When did you have to deal with this one? Day says councils and communities have an important oversight role, pointing to a derelict home on Number 3 Road where intervention didn't come in time to save it.
We had no choice but to order it boarded up.
Yeah.
There was raccoons living in it, there was rats in it, it's really bad.
Day and officials in cities like Burnaby want neighbors to be involved and bring attention to problems of unsightliness, untidiness, or neglect so they can be caught in time and dealt with as a community. Chad Pawson, CBC News, Richmond.
Hundreds of young computer programmers put their coding skills to the test this weekend at one of the largest hackathon events in Western Canada. Our Sarab Sandhu popped by UBC to see some of the innovative ideas competitors are putting into action.
This group of university students has successfully recreated the scene from Squid Game, a popular drama series, into a computer application. It's part of a 24-hour coding challenge at UBC.
We're excited to have a lot of different prize categories that encourage hackers to also think about solving those problems with their skills and technologies.
This duo has come up with an app they hope will help solve their housing problem, connecting students with people who are looking to sublet their place.
Students have an incredibly difficult time finding housing in such a competitive and expensive housing market. So what we did is to create a solution that solves not only our problems, but the problems of our friends and our community.
Or what about a program that reads your facial expressions?
It's a developer productivity app that helps developers know when they should take breaks or like when they're in the flow state. They do that based off your facial expressions.
These are just some of the ideas being put into action at UBC's 10th annual hackathon. This event, organizers say, promotes creativity, collaboration, and community.
A hackathon is like an invention marathon. You get hundreds of people together with a wide variety of skill sets, and they come up with crazy ideas, and they put together a prototype over a very short period of time, typically a weekend, where they can demo for expert judges and win prizes.
We are the largest hackathon in Western Canada. Right now we have over 800 attendees at our event, including over 730 hackers, volunteers, mentors, organizers, and sponsors.
Nguyen says some of the projects presented at previous UBC hackathons have made it big in the outside world.
One of our startup sponsors is Reworked AI, and they were a hackathon project at NW Hacks 2023, and they've raised over, I believe $1 billion in funding as a successful startup now.
This is an extremely high-quality event, and honestly, it brings out the best and brightest in the region.
A fun event that helps young hackers network and build their resume while developing innovative ideas for the future. Sohrab Sandhu, CBC News, Vancouver.
A group of scientists is calling for better protections of Canada's ocean floor, arguing it could play a part in limiting climate change.
The functioning of the marine carbon cycle is really important for climate change because the marine environment absorbs around 25% of all CO2 emissions. So we need a functioning ocean carbon cycle in order for that buffering of climate change to continue into the future.
The new study explains that seabed sediments may hold higher potential for carbon storage than kelp forests or seagrass meadows. The study estimates that Canada's current marine protected area covers just 11% of the carbon contained in the seafloor. Still ahead, a pivotal moment in the Middle East today, the start of a ceasefire which aims to put Israel's war with Hamas in Gaza on hold. But the deal remains fragile. That's next. Stay with us. A pro-Palestinian celebration took place in Vancouver to mark the first day of the ceasefire between Israel and Hamas. The ceasefire comes after 15 months of bloodshed and contentious on and off negotiations. A prayer was held at the Vancouver Art Gallery to mourn the dead. So far, 3 Israeli hostages have been released and 90 Palestinian detainees have been freed as part of the agreement. But as Chris Brown reports, the deal remains fragile.
The euphoric moment was 470 days in the making. As thousands watched from what's now known as Hostage Square in Tel Aviv, Arab TV live-streamed the remarkable scenes from Gaza. First, the Red Cross convoy entering and crossing a landscape obliterated by Israeli bombs. Then, throngs of Hamas fighters in Gaza City surrounding the pickup location before the 3 Israeli women are ushered through the madness and driven off.
We're all waiting for them. I didn't think you could miss someone you didn't know that much.
Israel's defense forces released video of the handover and then the joyous reunions with their mothers. Emily Damari, who apparently lost 2 fingers, Doron Steinbrecher, and Romy Gonen. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, who many hostage families blame for passing up chances to get them home earlier, received the news that the women were airlifted to hospital, seemingly in good health, for more emotional reunions. 4 more hostages are set to be released in a week, but freeing dozens more depends on more shaky ceasefire talks.
Happy and sad together. There are more hostages there. Nobody knows if they will come.
As Israelis cheered their hostages' freedom, Palestinians were also celebrating as Israel released detainees from its jails.
Hundreds of people in the occupied West Bank lined up outside Offer Prison, waiting for hours until buses with the 90 women and children swapped in the first batch pulled out. As hundreds of thousands of people in Gaza, uprooted by war, made their way back to their homes, some said just surviving felt like their side had prevailed. Is there anything better than going home and being secure, said Mohammed Abdu. Shahi al-Hamas found his home in Rafah in total ruin. This was 7 floors, and now there's nothing left. God willing, we will rebuild, he said. With the ceasefire holding, hundreds of truckloads of aid began pouring in. But new drone video also revealed the expansiveness of the Israeli attacks here, leveling everything for kilometers in places, and begging the question of how it can ever be rebuilt. Chris Brown, CBC News, Tel Aviv.
Tomorrow, Donald Trump returns to the White House. Today, the celebration for Trump and his supporters began. The CBC's Katie Simpson reports.
The victory rally lineup stretched for blocks and blocks. Donald Trump supporters proudly wearing their red MAGA caps. The rain and cold, no match for their excitement.
I'm feeling very patriotic at this moment.
This is we, the people, dictating to the government what we want. And I think it's magical.
It's just been a day of joy and happiness, so it feels good to be here.
This is easily the largest pro-Trump crowd in Washington since his January 6th speech 4 years ago, delivered shortly before his supporters stormed the Capitol. Trump's re-election caps a political comeback unlike any other, overcoming 2 impeachments, 4 criminal indictments, 1 conviction, and surviving 2 assassination attempts. This moment and movement drawing Americans from across the country.
Finally feels like the boot's coming off of our necks, basically.
What makes you say boot off the neck?
If you don't have the right beliefs, you kind of just get ignored, censored.
You know, we can kind of get our society back and be able to afford stuff again, groceries, stuff like that.
The lead up to Trump's return began at Arlington National Cemetery, where he laid a wreath at the tomb of the unknown soldier, and later headlined his victory rally, vowing to end what he called America's decline.
But starting tomorrow, I will act
with historic speed and strength and fix every single crisis facing our country. We have to do it. We're not going to have a country left.
The time for Trump to deliver on his promises has finally arrived. And for the president-elect and his supporters, they're clearly in the mood to celebrate. Katie Simpson, CBC News, Washington.
Here we have a live shot of White Rock Pier tonight. When we return, why one Vancouver woman is turning to TikTok to find friends. All right, it is time now to take a look at our weather for the week ahead. Let's begin with a quick peek at the current temperatures around the province tonight. -17 in Clear in Fort St. John, -9 in Kamloops, -3 on the island in Campbell River, and sitting about 0 overnight for Tofino. Moving into tomorrow's forecast, 0 in Fort St. John with a mix of sun and clouds, -5 in both Kamloops and Kelowna with, again, some clear skies and a little bit of sun. In Terrace, you're going to see a bit more snow action with a -3 for tomorrow. And on the island, Victoria and Tofino, similar conditions with a 5 and 6 for tomorrow. Here in Metro Vancouver, we're going to have a mix of sun and clouds for our Monday and a high of 3. Similar conditions for Tuesday and Wednesday. And if you take a quick look at Thursday, yes, you believed it, or you should believe it, there will be a little bit of snow precipitation happening on Thursday. Vancouver is labeled a lonely city where it's hard to make friends. It's why one woman is challenging herself to do dozens of activities to meet new people. Yasmin Khaneya has her story.
So I live in Vancouver, and I have no friends.
23-year-old Anna Ho is on a journey, taking on 30 activities 1 week at a time in the hopes of finding friendship.
I started it because I kind of hit like a rough patch in my life where, as you grow older, you outgrow friendships, and sometimes, you have different morals with your friends, and so you kind of have to put yourself first. I'm on my way to an Airbnb to meet a group of strangers.
Some of her activities have been riskier than others, like going to a music festival with people she doesn't know.
Throughout the night, it was actually kind of hard to talk to people in this type of event.
She's also gone to painting classes and used an app to meet friends. Her videos have garnered hundreds of thousands of views, and her comment section is full of people who say they're lonely too.
I feel like not a lot of people talk about it in terms of dealing with loneliness, especially in Vancouver, because there's like a saying how Vancouver is like the most unfriendly city in Canada. And to a certain extent, I do kind of agree with that.
So do other Vancouverites.
I found difficulty making friends when I moved from a different city, because I moved from Kelowna.
And I think people have already selected their friends, and it's just a bit hard to fit in.
I think people they need to work on getting out of their comfort zone a little bit. I think everybody's a little bit lonely. Everyone's looking for company, especially in big cities like this.
This UBC professor specializes in friendships. She says things like rain can explain why Vancouver can be seen as a lonely city.
So just looking at the geography and the weather patterns of a city can tell us a bit about how much effort people have to make to be social.
Still early in the challenge, Ho says she's made one genuine friendship so far. She says even if she doesn't make more friends,
well, that's okay. Character growth.
Yasmin Khaneya, CBC News, Vancouver.
That is your late news for this Sunday, January 19th. Thanks so much for watching. For news on the go at any hour, you can always head to our website at cbc.ca/bc. Hope you have a great week.